時は今ようやっと手にしたのは夢のグラファー生活。この愛しき日々を誰にも邪魔されずに満喫したい。ああ、それなのに立ちはだかるトラブル、またトラブルだがそれでも諦めない。夢に描いた悠々自適生活を取り戻すまでは。
Hey everyone, this is Julie and welcome to SOFHAB. Today we're doing another manga review. This time on the manga that's a mouthful. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. And joining me yet again, you know who, it's Rascal Entertainment.
Hello.
So this manga I actually found on the shelves of the library. We ended up actually loving it. It's fun. It's entertaining. Before we get started,
Be sure to like, subscribe, and click notification bell updates on SOFHAB reviews, hacks, spoofs, and more.
yes, and thank you for joining us. Now, this particular franchise is really popular. We learned that it was serialized online since 2016, and there's been multiple light novels, a novel series, a manga, which is what we're currently reading, an anime based on the manga that we're reading. The anime has 12 episodes, and the manga series itself, they also have one standalone manga with 1 volume, another manga with 3 volumes, that's a spinoff, and the one that we're reading has 12 volumes, and we are currently on volume 8. We're almost done. And again, I found this not knowing what it was. The cover looked fun, and it actually is.
Yes, and we weren't even sure what was supposed to be in the beginning. Thought it was isekai or something, but it looks like it's one of those types of genres that we see where a person has passed or they're in an accident, they lose their life, and then their spirit is put into some other setting or reincarnation or type thing, and a lot of the times they're put into the lives of a video game character, and then that's their life from now on.
And for this one, believe it or not, the demographic is male.
Yeah.
And it's being produced in America by Yen Press.
Right.
Which tends to do some things that are pretty unique, like solo leveling and so forth. So, quickly, the manga is written by Kisetsu Morita, published by Shososuke Ninaro in Japan. It ran from June of 2016 to November of 2021. And basically, the plot of this manga is after living a painful life as an office worker, Asusa Aizawa, who's the main character and also appears on the cover, she ends up dying from overworking, and she finds herself reincarnated as an undying, unaging witch in a new world, and now she vows to spend her days as pleasantly and stress-free as possible. And she does that for a while, but then all of a sudden all these characters start showing up, and between that time she makes a living by hunting slimes, the easiest targets. And after doing that for centuries, the simple job, she becomes extremely powerful, famous throughout the land, and finds that she can no longer maintain her low-key lifestyle.
And yeah, that's a big difference with here is that she's not trying to battle and things to level up so much she's unstoppable. She just was doing that so just she could keep living easy. And then it comes to a point where she's so famous that people are just coming to her house to challenge her and want to beat the strongest thing in the land, and she just doesn't want to be bothered.
And there's a varied cast of characters that shows up. Aizawa herself, Asusa is what they call her a lot in the manga. She's a likable character. She's got this great personality that never got to show up because she was working so hard. She wasn't living her life. She wasn't spending time with friends or family. She did nothing but work. So now that great personality she always had when she was alive is coming through, I'm just going to say, in the game.
Right.
And she ends up meeting some really fantastic characters that may be familiar to some other people from other franchises. Like, what's the one with the dragon?
Was a
Miss
maid?
Kobayashi's?
He's a dragon maid.
Yeah. She gets a couple of dragons. One is Laika, and she's a red dragon girl who can take the form of a human, but she has a dragon tail still, and she can transform to a full dragon. And she wants her to teach her how to be stronger and becomes her apprentice. And then later on she meets some slimes and then end up turning into girls, Falfa and Shaosha. who are absolutely hilarious, and they are supposed to be so brilliant that when they get to school in volume 8, they can't teach them anything.
Right. That's one of the funniest things in the latter books. And it says only like 12 volumes, so I think by the time you get to volumes 8 and 9, you can tell it's getting to a point where it's getting close to the end, because they say, I know this feels like the end, but it's not. There's still some more. So you can tell it's sort of reaching an end, but there's no major plot. It's like slice of life in a fantasy setting.
Definitely.
And she keeps growing this family of characters that she ends up meeting along the way, and it's kind of obvious when you read it that all the characters are girls. It's like majority of this cast, 98% are female, and there are males, but they're so unimportant that they're really badly drawn or they're criminals, so you have to keep that in mind that this is really, you gotta love hanging with the girls to really get, adjusted to this.
Yes. She also meets Halkara, who is an elf apothecary, and she's always falling out of her clothes. Yes, there is fan service in him, so maybe this should have been our first clue of the male demographic.
Right, and they constantly make fun of it in there, like, why does everything get drastic with her clothes?
Right, she's kind of ditzy, but again, she's likable. She has these weird expressions. It looks like she's always drunk. That's what I think of every time I look at her. And then you have a character called Beelzebub. And yes, she's supposed to be a demon. And she's 3,000-year-old female demon.
Mm-hmm.
And she dresses in sexy outfits with the conical hat. And she likes spending time with them so much, but she keeps showing up without being invited.
Right.
At their home, when they go places, when they do things, she just pops up and she's there, and they're like, "Who invited you?" And she's like, "Oh," and then she just stays.
And she just want to adopt the 2 slime girls. She's like, you can't do that.
And then you have Flat Torch, and I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how it looks.
I think so.
F-L-A-T-O-R-T-E. And she's a blue dragon girl. She's 400, and she also wants to be an apprentice since she's training the red dragon girl. And so they have to get along, even though that they tell us there's been a constant history between the 2 colors of dragons.
Yeah. And yes, they managed to get that in here too. And each book, they pretty much introduce new characters. Majority of the time, they're female characters. And you can tell when the artist has favoritism towards majority female characters when you see the background characters and the people that live in the towns, whether the villains or the little monsters or criminals. Usually if they're not the author's type, they end up being very sketchy looking, and not in a bad way, but just like they have no discernible features that look like anime. They change it for the anime. They all look attractive, but for the book, it was like, look, you're not here to look at them. You're here to look at all the pretty girls. Look at them. So every girl had a pretty look. That was the main character the artist wants you to look at. Everyone else that didn't matter had a really generic look, like a Lego figure.
2 more characters that are funny that appear in here are Rosalie, and she's actually a ghost girl who ends up living with them.
Right.
Maybe
that's the ghost of Molly McGee there.
Maybe. And you have Pekora, who's a 1,000-year-old demon girl who wants to sleep with her. And she says, "Oh, I want to be your sister, your Oni-san."
And she responded, "If that's how you see your sister, there's something really wrong." and she doesn't even hide it. It's only because she had beaten her in a battle, and I guess instead of it being a guy, it's just the girl. And they make it clear that what's the main witch's name again? Asuka. They make it clear, in case you're wondering, it never gets to a point where it's unsafe to watch. A lot of stuff's androgynous. You don't see any graphic detail or fan service. There's fan service, but not to a point where it's too much. And to make clear, Asuka is not interested in dating any of the girls. So far, none of it has led to relationships. She just sees all the girls as her family, like her sisters, her daughters, her friends, her cousins, and she creates a family with all of them, and they end up living at her house.
Now, as of Volume 8, the latest family edition is Sandra, called Sandora in Japanese, and she's an over 300-year-old Mandragora girl. So she's a plant from the Mandragora plant, and she takes human shape. She has to sleep in the dirt, like a vampire.
Yeah.
And she has to be watered, and she eats, and it's hilarious because she's deadpan all the time. And she doesn't want to be told what to do. And she tells everyone she's smarter than they are how she's older.
Right.
But she looks like a 5-year-old, which is
Right.
absolutely hilarious. But this is a really fun manga. If you want to read something that's fun and, as you mentioned, slice of life with some fantasy and magic included in it, and it is considered the genre isekai.
Isekai?
It actually is.
All right.
But it's such a fun read, and I recently began watching the anime. I watched the first 2 episodes, and they are literally one-to-one to the manga. So either one is a good way to just watch something fun or read something fun that is entertaining. And they have a couple spin-offs, as we didn't mention earlier. There's one called I Was a Bottom Tier Bureaucrat for 1,500 years, and the Demon King Made Me a Minister.
Oh my God.
There's
Yes.
Food for an Elf. There's a manga and a light novel based on one. There's also one Red Dragon.
Right. So I guess that's a spinoff.
Right, in the White Journey of Margrave. And yeah, it's really, really successful. So if you, again, want to read something fun, then you need to read I've Been Killing Slimes for 300 Years and Maxed Out My Level. I mean, she's in her early 20s.
Right.
I forgot to mention that she's not 30s, 40s. She's in her early 20s, and she wipes herself out working for people that didn't appreciate her too hard. But she gets a second chance. She gets to choose what she wants, and this manga ensues.
And you definitely would enjoy the anime if you enjoy the manga, since it's one-to-one. You'll most likely enjoy the characters coming to life and seems to have imagined sounding in your head, whether in Japanese and English. Do they sound as you thought, or was it a little different?
Yeah. And
be sure to like, subscribe, and click notification buttons on SOFHAB reviews, spoofs, hacks, videos, and more.
my Nozaki-kun randomness videos.
Yes, those are really, really fun.
So thank you so much for joining us today. Give it a watch or give it a read and come back and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining me once again.
I'm Rascal.
I'm Julie.
Have a fantastic day.
And continue to be happy, healthy, and whole. See you next time.